can't give what you don't have. When you are talking about integrity, you are really talking about the real person, who that person is.
When you talk of integrity, you talk of honesty. To be honest. And to be honest means to be trustworthy, to be truthful. And politics is science and art of government.
Politics is about the people.
Yes.
And if you talk about it in a deeper sense, it has to do with how people take decision on how to lead themselves.
Nigeria is one of the biggest nations in the world and is acclaimed to be the giant of Africa. But people begin to wonder, why is it that this nation, this great country, is suffering recession, is suffering economic challenges? You hear of unemployment and all whatnot, and people are beginning to wonder, even with the vast human resources and natural resources, why do Nigerians complain about hardship? Today on this program, Christians in Politics, we shall be looking at the issue, why should Nigeria borrow? And in the studio with me, we have Venerable Joseph Unoya. He is the Director of Civic and Political Affairs, Church of Nigeria, Anglican Communion, and the Chaplain to the National Assembly. Venerable, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And also to my left, I have Reverend Benjamin Agbejumeya. He is a priest of the Anglican Church in the Diocese of Abuja. Reverend, you're welcome.
Good day, viewers.
And I am Chukweme Kalum Anyakwa. Like I said, today we shall be looking at why should Nigeria borrow despite all these vast human resources, despite all these vast mineral resources. We produce crude oil, we export crude oil, but we have to import the finished product to avail our masses the opportunity to use these vast energy resources that God has given us. Venerable, let me start with you. Should Nigeria borrow?
My answer would be no. I'm not an economist, but there's no Nigeria that we say he or she is not aware that we are in recession, whatsoever that terminology means. Every Nigeria has been complaining for some time now because of a hike in prices of goods and services. In fact, it has gotten beyond what any person could have imagined. And many economists have been speaking who are experts in this matter, and they say that when there is economic recession, one of the ways through which a country can get out of it is through borrowing and injection of a massive fund into circulation. Well, that is the viewpoint of experts in this very matter. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with their viewpoint. But I also know that I'll be privileged to listen to a renowned professor in the field of banking, who is head high all over the world. During the time of economic meltdown, he was one of the professors that was sought for all over the world. And he delivered a paper in the UK and made them to understand, no matter what you do to address this issue, once there's this stretch in economy, it takes minimum of 3 years to bounce back. And he told them this, what leads people into this kind of economic confusion is when people are too relaxed, when people don't care about policy, when they throw all the guards overboard. And so things begin to go bad, and it only manifests when they now discover that prices can no longer be controlled. Everything has gone haywire, inflation had gone up. And when that happens, and it has gotten to the point of awareness now that everyone is aware there is a problem, they give it a name. It could be meltdown, economic meltdown, it could be economic recession, whatever you want to call it. Then, because of that awareness, every person will sit up and begin to curtail excesses, begin to monitor the different economic, how will I put it now, guides that will make person to recover. Expenditure and all that will be watched carefully. And with that carefulness and consciousness, deliberate effort to get over the problem, things will begin to improve. And it takes a period, a total period from the time you recognize that there is a problem and the time you recognize that, the time you get over it. If you put everything together, it always spans over a period of 3 years. I believe him. And I believe that whether we borrow or we don't borrow, if we can tighten our belt and begin to do the right thing, those in government, the economists, and those in the business sector, those in the private sector, if every person begin to do the right thing, recognize there is a problem on ground that we need to deal with, within this period, or maybe the next 2 years, we will get over this. I've also had some sound economists during this reception saying that even now that we are trying to deal with it, it will take minimum of about 18 months before we begin to see the effect of any measure that is that the government is taking now, which of course aligns with what that my professor friend said some years ago during the economic meltdown period. Now, that is one of the reasons why I feel we should not go to borrow. I don't personally see borrowing as a way of coming out of a financial mess. I don't see how you borrow to come. You are going to borrow on interest. So it's like, for me as a layman, it's like postponing the doomsday. You are having problem. You don't have enough to spend now or to do what you're supposed to do. Instead to discipline yourself and see how you live your life to be able to skate through the period, you are saying, okay, let me get huge amount of money from somewhere or credit, then start spending. What you have simply done, you have postponed the doomsday to tomorrow, future. So that is one of the major reasons why I feel we should not rush into borrowing. The second reason is that I feel the situation in Nigeria today in terms of corruption is not just a good time to talk about borrowing. I would have loved a situation whereby this agenda of Mr. President, which is cardinally war against corruption, is carried to the very upper limit. It is done to the point that every Nigerian now begin to run away from any corrupt act. No one, that if you, for instance, if you have to borrow any money, no one will want to misappropriate any kobo, no one will want to embezzle any naira. But where we are at the moment, I don't see the environment ripe for us to go into this kind of a huge borrowing. And by the way, of recent, apart from all other people, the wife of the president also cried out concerning the caliber of people that are around Mr. President. If we are going to borrow for any reason, there's need for the president to kindly look into his cabinet and inject people who can help this nation into his cabinet, so that if we are borrowing at all, if there's need to borrow at all, we'll be sure of the caliber of people that are going to handle this very much. You heard of recent, where I watched it in the national television, when the Minister for National Planning was interviewed and they asked him, what is the state of our indebtedness? He could not respond. He is not even aware of the total debt that we owe at the moment as a nation. Then how do you arrive at borrowing? How do you now know what to borrow? How do you now plan how to service this loan? We have been hearing of internal debt that is very, very high. We have been hearing of drastic depletion of external reserve and all this. Who is helping Mr. President to do a proper planning to be sure that when we borrow, we are not going to run into a problem? If I may speak further again on the reason why I feel we should not borrow. Now, you ask yourself, all the borrowings that have been done in this nation over the years, today, can you point a finger to any achievement that we have really made with all this borrowing?
Okay, let me pause you there, Venerable. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Reverend Abuja, do you think Nigeria, as it is, should borrow?
Well, in my own humble view, first of all, we ask ourselves this question: what is the state of our budget? What is the state of implementation of the 2016 budget? What is the total budget for the year? What is the projected income? What is the deficit? Because this year, the government presented the highest budget ever in the history of Nigeria, a budget of about 6.07 trillion naira.
Yes.
And out of the 6.07 trillion naira, 3.8 trillion is the projected income. Then 2.2 trillion is deficit. And out of that 6.07 trillion naira, you have capital expenditure of about 1.8 trillion naira. Then you have about 4.22 trillion naira as a recurrent expenditure. And the government want to go and borrow $30 billion. Convert it to Nigerian naira, that is about 12.5 trillion naira, twice Nigeria budget, and more than 6 times of the capital expenditure of this year's budget. Now, if you say you want to borrow twice Nigeria budget, what are you going to do with Nigeria internally generated revenue for the next 2 years? This is a government that has spent almost 2 years out of 4 years of our tenure. You have only 2 years remaining, just a little above 2 years. And by 2018, campaigns for electioneering will begin. Now, you want to go and borrow 12.5 trillion naira. It's a way of mortgaging the future of Nigerians. Because I don't see any right-thinking leader that will come out with this kind of idea that you want to go and borrow 12.5 trillion naira, money that is twice your annual budget, and money that is 6 times your capital budget. That means a capital budget of about 6 years is what you want to go and borrow. When you borrow this money, what are you going to do with this money? What are the projects? Do you mean that you want to borrow even for projects that are not in your budget? And if you are borrowing for projects that are not in your budget, what are the policies put in place to service these debts? And if you are even borrowing, for Christ's sake, if you are even borrowing, because there is nothing wrong in borrowing, because if you look at the state of our economy today, the youth are losing, there are job loss on daily basis. Companies are folding up. You see our political elites going for foreign-made goods. There is no salary cut or allowances for politicians, and we say we are in recession. You see our politicians going after SUVs and so expensive cars, and you say we are in recession. elaborate parties, government parties are thrown here and there. You say we are in recession. Just last week, November 1st, there is increase in beverages all over the country for about 40%. People cannot feed their children. People are losing jobs.
Okay,
you want to go and borrow.
Reverend, let me pause you here. A while ago, you said that the government does not have the wherewithal to take us out of recession.
Yeah.
Are you trying to say that the team of ministers that have been appointed by the president and the president himself do not know what to do to take us out of this economic challenge?
Thank you very much. We are in November already. This is 2 years and about 6 months of the life of this regime.
Is it up to 2 years?
I mean, 1 year, 6 months of this regime. Since they came into power, what is the economic blueprint? Do they have economic blueprint? The answer is what? Is no. And if a government that does not have economic blueprint is going on borrowing, on what basis are they going to borrow for? Are they just going to borrow and just begin to spend without economic blueprint? You want to go and borrow. You want to go and borrow. The size of your government, because if you look at your world today, Nigeria democracy is the most expensive democracy in the world. You have a government that came into leadership on the matter of change.
And fighting corruption.
And fighting corruption. Yeah. And you are surrounded with corrupt politicians. The government should look inward, because fighting corruption must begin with Mr. President. Wait! Fighting corruption must begin with Mr. President. You cannot use Nigeria, because most of those who funded the president's election did that on the basis of corruption.
Reverend, nobody has been found guilty of
yes, because the government is shielding them.
So you're trying to say that the government is intentionally and deliberately, taking sides with corrupt people who are their friends?
Not only taking sides. Not only taking sides. Because in a government where you see have somebody like a former governor of a river state, who is indicted in many ways.
But he has not been proved.
He has not, because the government is not ready to probe him.
All right, let me hold you there. Venerable, what do you make of the team of ministers of the president? The economic team. You made mention of Senator Udo Doma, who couldn't give a detailed account of the debt profile of the country.
You see, it's not a question of even what I make of them. Let's say, what is the perception of Nigerians? We are not politicians. I keep emphasizing this. And I will never join politics because I have my job. We are only here talking about the general well-being of Nigerians. I'm not an APC member. I will never join APC. I'm not a PDP member. I will never join PDP. Nor am I going to form a party tomorrow. So we are looking at what is going on in the country on a very neutral ground. Now, if the wife of Mr. President comes out to tell the whole world that the people surrounding my husband are not the right people, do you need another prophet to come and speak? The House of Representatives politely advised Mr. President to listen to the wife.
But the president said his wife does not belong to any political party.
The wife was campaigning.
So that means the wife does not know what it takes to run a government.
The wife campaigned for APC. And the wife said, I listened to her speak. She said this was not what we planned as APC, and if things go this way, she will not even vote for this very party in the next election. What do you want her to say? The woman knows what she's saying. She spoke intelligently, my brother. Let us be frank about this thing. You see, I sympathize with Mr. President. Honestly, I see him as an individual, like a man with passion to really bring a change. But unfortunately, one individual cannot change everything. And that is where selection of the crop of people that will work with you matters. I've said it in many different occasions that why things will be difficult for APC and why APC as a party should stop blaming past administration. They should not forget that up to 80% of the present membership of APC are angry PDP members. That's how I see them. They are angry PDP members who pulled out in one way or the other, maybe because they could not win election, because they could not win one primary or the other, because their nominee was not honored. All of them pulled out of PDP. These are the same PDP members that have ruled us. These are the same PDP members. When APC as a government is talking about PDP that rule, these are the same people. Really, who are the new people? Who are really the new people that you are seeing in government? So now there is something wrong with what everyone can see. Take for instance the Minister for Finance. From day one, I had this kind of feeling that this lady is too young and maybe too inexperienced to manage this sensitive economy and finance of this country. Because when you are talking about offices of this nature, you look at the background, you look at the number of offices somebody have held, you look at the level of exposure. Many of these people, you can, okay, if you go into their CVs, you will discover that some of these people are doing the job that they are not professionally trained for. Yeah. Some of them are just on neutral ground entirely. People complain about why should one minister be managing 3 sensitive portfolios at the same time. So all these complaints were raised. But because of, I think why I say I sympathize with Mr. President, that he seems to be a man that have a vision, he had a mindset to change. Because I still listened to him speak yesterday. He's talking about living a better Nigeria for our children that are coming on the way. He was speaking passionately when he went to inaugurate Edo University. He said he wants his government to live a better Nigeria. But the people you are working with,
credible.
They are not credible. He just mentioned the former governor of Rivers State. I was privileged to see the white paper released by Rivers State government on the eve of his clearance at the National Assembly to be a minister. That thing was on the table of every minister. Every senator. I saw it in one of the senators' table. I picked it. I read through it. I was overwhelmed with what I see. We are not saying all those allegations may all be true. Okay. No. No one is saying. See, allegation can be made by any person. But why don't you allow these people to clear themselves? The way they manipulated it and swept that thing under the carpet and cleared this is a very big question on, are we really going to be able to fight corruption in this very time? So there's need for Mr. President to look inward. I don't think borrowing is the solution to Nigeria problem. Let me tell you my own personal view. I believe that in a situation like this is when we should know a born leader, a leader who should be able to take the nation forward. You should be able to look inward and deal with issues that have remained problems over the years. When Mr. President came in, within the first 1 month, do you know, he made a move to begin to reduce the salaries. I mean, in fact, he wanted to prune his own salary, and El-Rufai, the governor of Kaduna, wanted to follow immediately, but the whole thing ended there. That was what happened. You know, Yar'Adua made a move, the late President Yar'Adua made a move to reduce the salary and the emolument of political office holders. He started it, unfortunately, because of sickness and all that, he could not complete it. When Jonathan took over, he wanted to do it. Then, within the first 1 month, he was talking about it. Before we knew it, the thing was swept under the carpet. That is what has also happened again now. So they don't want this thing to be touched. You see, the money that is going into the purse of few individuals in Nigeria, if it is mobbed together, it's enough for us to solve the problem of Nigeria as of today. That is my own take. Let him look inward. The environment is not right. Let me tell you, those in government today, this is the best news that they have ever had since they enter into government. We have listened to some of them. We are just suffering. Everywhere is dry. You know, our president, our leader is not listening to any person. So that's why I say I sympathize with the leader. All of them are grumbling. They are not happy even with Mr. President, the people working under him, the APC member, because their agenda is to come in to loot as usual. But unfortunately, it's like the man at the center, Mr. President, is not giving them that chance. So why did I say this is the best news they have ever had? Oh, money is coming. Money is coming. Okay, once this almost 30 billion naira comes, I bet you.
$1 billion.
Dollars. You see how it will go under the carpet. At the end of the day, you will not have something to. What have you to show for Shopee today? Okay. Wait, hold just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. What have we to show now for increase in the price of fuel? We were told that the panacea to Nigeria's problem is if we can agree for them to increase the price, remove subsidy. That has been the issue over the year, that will be the solution to our problem. The subsidy was removed. Price jumped from, is it 90?
68 naira.
Yeah, to 143. As at yesterday, I bought fuel in Abuja here. By the time I saw, I divided what I saw, the liter, with the money I paid. I discovered that I bought at 148 naira per liter. What have we to show for this now? Nigerians are paying by the day. What have we to show for it? This is what is also going to happen when this money is borrowed.
Now, the president and the economic team are saying that they met an empty treasury.
Yes.
Now, one of the reasons why we are facing what we are facing today is because of the massive corrupt practices, misappropriation of public funds that the former government had.
What of the extra billions that have flown into the account of the nation because of the change of fuel price? No one is talking about that. The palliative measures they say were going to come out. Did you see any today now?
Some days ago, the president said he almost absconded when he entered power.
That's why we continue to sympathize with him.
I would like Reverend
my brother, government is a continuous exercise. It doesn't stop with one man's administration. When you come into government, just as the resources accruing to the country is a continuous one, so also expenditure is a continuous one. Because if the president is giving us this kind of excuses that he met empty treasury, what was the foreign reserve? What was the state of our foreign reserve at the time he came into government? Because when he came into government, I don't know why Nigerians can forget so soon that he was giving a bailout to states. If you meant empty treasury, where did you get those money that you were giving to the states as a bailout? Now, because let's even forget about those excuses Mr. President was giving to us.
Saying the president.
Yes, wait. All those are politics. Because we are talking about borrowing. You cannot have a government that says it's facing recession. It's facing recession because Nigeria is a government that runs on mono economy. And if you are facing recession, it means you have to look for a way to diversify. And if you are diversifying, the best way that Nigeria can diversify our economy is looking into agriculture. And a sensible government that must diversify will make agriculture, the agricultural sector, a very attractive sector for our youths. And you cannot say you want to diversify, like what the Prime Minister said just on Monday when he was giving his opening speech concerning the herdsmen terrorizing every part of Nigeria and making Nigerians to feel that
no one wants to go to farm again.
No one wants to go to farm. And not only that, that the business of the herdsmen is a national business and it should be a national problem. A real government that is sensible will be serious because this is a farming season. And if you are not serious and make farming attractive and you allow a particular tribe section of the country to begin to take over the whole country and make the agricultural sector a
very
uninteresting, unattractive, and unbearable for those that can improve the economy of this country, it means that that government economically is a failed government. That is one. Then secondly, we are talking about recession and government going out to borrow. Like what I said, this government doesn't have any economic plan, no economic policy. Because if they have economic policy...
So, Reverend, you're saying we shouldn't borrow at this time?
No, there's no point for borrowing at all.
We're going to go on a break now. When we come back, we're going to talk about the solutions. How do we get out of this? Viewers, if you're just joining us, you're watching Christians in Politics, coming to you from the ACNN. And I have two reverend gentlemen in the studio. But we'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue. Stay with us.
The Anglican Cable Network Nigeria, ACNN, is your most reliable gospel TV station that brings to you quality TV programming which build your spiritual life and enhance your walk with God through the undiluted Word of God. Join us on our social media platforms anytime you miss your favorite program. Subscribe to our YouTube channel with the address www.youtube.com/ACNntv and click that video that matters to you.
Protect your vote is a euphemistic way of saying do everything to make sure you can share blood, you can kill, to ensure that the person you voted for is the one that emerged as winner at the end of the day.
There is never a dull moment on our Facebook page as we are dedicated to keep you informed with the up-to-date news about the church and other information. Just log on to www.facebook.com/ACNntv for you can now watch some of our programs live on your mobile device. Follow us on Twitter with the handle at ACNntv.com and you'll be glad you did. So now, there is no longer regret each time you miss any episode of your favorite programs, as you can now watch them on the go, anytime, anywhere. ACNN. We are indeed reaching the world with the undiluted Word of God.
If you're just joining us, you're watching the ACNN and the program is Christians in Politics, and the topic we are discussing is should Nigeria borrow to get out of recession? And I have Venerable Unoaya in the studio and Reverend Agbejumeya. While we went on break, or before we went on break, you were talking about the flamboyance, the kind of spending that we do here in Nigeria. You know, a country that is suffering recession should mind how much it spends or she spends. You know, the salaries of the lawmakers. Some people are calling for salary slash. Some people are calling for reduction in the presidential aids, the convoy, and all of that. What do you make of this? You are trying to say something.
Yeah, it's like this. This recession is a recession that is meant to affect only the poor and not the rich. Because in a country where you have politicians still maintaining their flamboyant life system, government spending is still on the increase in the area of, take for example, when the pilgrims were to go to Saudi Arabia and those going to Jerusalem, how government subsidized dollars for them. And you look at these areas of our national life. What value, what economic value as a man going to Saudi Arabia or Jerusalem added to our economic life? That is somebody that is going for a religious assignment, personal religious duty. You refuse to subsidize for those who are importers and exporters, who will add value to our economy. A serious government, you will never, because you have government that is buying grass, importing grass. Let's begin to think about it. No serious government to begin to import grass for a particular segment of our people, just to keep them in their own business, personal business, not government business. Go to Asokoro, go and see the mansions there. A serious government in this period of recession will think of taxing those properties. A serious government, if today you place a ban on importation of SUVs and all these expensive luxurious cars, Nigerians will patronize Innocent and other companies in Nigeria here.
Venerable, over the time for about some weeks, months now, we've heard stories of recovered loot from people. The other time, the former DJ, Controller General of Customs, returned about $1 billion or something. What has been done with all these loots that have been returned? The Abacha loot is still there coming. What has been done? Are these loots not enough to take us out of this economic challenge that we are facing?
I think I will rely on people like you to do some investigative journalism to give us facts on this, because we have not been told what has been done with this, where this recovered money is going into, what is being used for, and the amount that has been recovered. Of recent, they told us, oh, we will tell you people at the right time. But of recent, the last I heard of it was that, you see, we're having problem recovering, repatriating the ones, especially overseas and all that. Then the ones recover within the country, there's a dedicated account in the central bank that is being paid into. By this time, Nigeria should be able to know details of what has been recovered and what is being used for. Is it being kept somewhere and all that? We should have details of this. Now, there's nothing wrong if Nigerians know what they have gathered into the TSA account, what is there, how it's being disbursed. We need these details in the public domain, because every Nigeria is passing through hell under this economic recession, and everyone is concerned about how it's when you make all these facts and figures available in the public domain that people can offer good advice that will be helpful to the government. But for me, like as I said before, if we want to get out of this economic recession, this is the right time for Mr. President to correct all the ills of the past in this very nation. Starting with the reduction. You heard what just happened in Oyo State this week, where they sliced the salary of all political office holders by 50%. I don't know if you are aware of that. That has been announced in your state. Let's trust that they will do proper implementation of that new policy. That is how to know that people are serious about solving a particular problem. You know, I've taken time to look at it before I discover. We are talking about unemployment. Is it not 30,000 they say we want to pay the new graduates? That is what I've heard. They are proposing to pay the graduates they want to employ now. I've said it over the years. Do you know the number of Nigerians that are earning over ₦1 million per month? Over ₦1 million per month from government coffers. If there's a government that was willing and bold enough to say the highest paid Nigeria should not earn, let's use a good figure that is going to be manageable. The highest paid Nigeria should not earn more than 300,000 naira per month. All the remaining extra, I tell you, if you put it together, it can employ and pay all the graduates that have graduated and are unemployed to the government will pay all of them conveniently. Is it not better that the highest paid person gets 300,000 naira per month, the least paid person, okay, gets 30,000 naira per month, but almost every person is having at least something to take home at the end of it, than for many people to if you go to the National Assembly, you know, the National Assembly will be very, very good in trying to keep their figures and all that no Nigeria can even boldly, as of today, say this is the exact amount these people earn. But as at the last document I saw, senators are going home with almost close to 29 million naira every month. Then think of it, if we can prune this thing down, the amount of billions upon billions, in fact trillions of naira that we are going to mop together, that will be enough to take care of infrastructure and take care of other things. Nigeria's money are just being stacked away, taken out to abroad. They are using it anyhow. He mentioned Asokoro just now. You see civil servant buying a land with 60 million, 100 million, 200 million. Land, though, before you start building on it and all that. Then we have not dealt with all this. One of the things I love Mr. President for, there are many other things, many other policies that really I feel something is grossly wrong about. There are many issues I expect Mr. President to do more, where he has not really done much, especially like the issue of herdsmen problem menace that is driving people away from the bush. You are telling people, let's diversify and go into agriculture. People, even the peasant farmers before are running away from the bush because they are being killed, they are being maimed, they are being raped in the bush. So you need to do much about that. But one of the things which I commend him and the entire administration for is the fight against corruption, which I believe have started, but to me is still far from what I expect. They need to go deeper. They need to go deeper until it gets into the psyche of every Nigerian that is no longer going to be business as usual.
Venerable, on the 26th of October 2016, the federal government unveiled a 3-year debt management strategy that will span through 2016 to 2019, which will be supervised by the Debt Management Office. This shows that the government is held back on borrowing. If this goes ahead, what does it portend for the Nigerian economy and the Nigerian masses?
My problem is that if care is not taken, see, you know, Mr. President is not taking decision alone. It's not Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm not sure by profession he's an economist.
Of course he's not.
I'm not sure he's a financial expert.
And that's why he has...
Yes, he acts on the advice of the people under him. I just hope and believe that people are not trying to mislead Mr. President. I just hope that Mr. President will not sit down after his administration and say one day, oh, had it been I knew this advice to go and borrow this heavy amount of money will mortgage the future of Nigerians, I would have done it. These people advised me wrongly. But do you know what it took us to get out of Paris Club Wahala? Do you know what it took Okonjo-Iweala to battle to ensure that? I think when they announced that, oh, Nigeria finally is debt-free, my brother, I also jubilated in my parlor that very day. And we are now talking about huge internal debt after that. And then we are now talking about
how to service.
How to service that. It's not easy. We are talking about going outside now again. It's like going back to one's vomit. I will advise this government to look inward. Let's tighten up. But all of us are hungry already. Let us face it squarely and take drastic decisions and measures that will make us to get out of this mess without borrowing. This is the time Nigeria can think fast and think well.
Reverend Abejume, what is the solution? We are suffering. Nigeria has the most arable land in the whole of West Africa. Sometime in the past, the country came to Nigeria to take palm kernels, and today that country has transformed itself into something else, and we admire them. We have all it takes to be the best. Our brains, our human resource are all over the world doing great things. What should we do to get out of this economic mess?
Yes, our leaders and politicians should stop thinking about the next election.
So what
our
should they
leaders
think about?
should stop thinking about the next election. They should think about the future, the next generation. What are they going to bequeath to the next generation? Because if they put on their thinking caps and begin to think of the future and the future of the next generation, you will see that our plans, the plans of this country, will be properly articulated. You will not have the kind of policies that will somersault, where you will see a government going to build a refinery in a place where oil is not being produced. Or you will see a government, because in this country, if our government, we think very well, you have the north that are very, very good in tomato, onions, and cotton production. Why not build factories, companies,
even at
to occupy the youths?
At a point, we had a granite pyramid.
Yes.
What happened to it?
Then you have the southeast, where you have large production of palm. Why not have agric farms and build factories? Go to the west. We are producers of cocoa. We produce our cocoa and import them. Export them to countries that are not producers of cocoa, who will process them
and send back to us.
And we buy it at a higher cost.
And buy it at higher cost. And we have this solution is that Nigeria should look inwards. You cannot take our president just traveled to some time ago, just traveled to Germany for ear treatment. It's capital flight. What stops our government from building good hospitals?
But provisions are made for his clinic at the Aso Villa.
For how many millions of people? Just look at the budget. The budget of Aso clinic is higher than the budget of all the national hospitals, all the hospitals in the whole nation.
And yet
our people are still going abroad. Any cancer patient, we travel to India. The children of all our politicians are schooling in US, UK, and others. You ask yourself, what is wrong with our leaders?
Sir, what do we do?
What I'm saying we should do is that we should concentrate our investments and reduce this capital flight, both in the health sector, in the education sector, even building factories in all the geopolitical zones to keep our youths busy. You cannot say you want to improve the economy of this country in this year of economic recession when all companies, you don't subsidize exchange of dollar for business yes, who are in the manufacturing sector that will produce jobs for our youth, and you are subsidizing dollar for those traveling on pilgrimage. It's abnormal. So our government must put on their thinking caps and bring out policies that will impact positively on the masses.
All right, Venerable, what should we do? We've outlined problems upon problems and how Nigeria has, been taken back into recession. What should we do to get out of this recession? We have the agriculture, everybody's talking about diversification and all of that. How do we get out of this?
I think the first step now is for me, to advise that we drop the idea of borrowing.
Great.
That is the first step to show that, yes, we really mean business. Then the second step is to follow the footsteps of Oyo State. The decision by Oyo State this very week, Oyo State government this week, to slice the salary and the emolument of all political office holders by 50% should be followed. And if I may add, not only political office holder, it should also affect civil servants that are earning over bloated salaries. Because I've always had this problem with labor in Nigeria, that labor is only selfish. Labor keep advocating for increment of salary. Once this union finish their own, the other one will say they need increment. Once that one finish, they will come back to the people they increased before. Since I was born, they have only been increasing salary, but no one has really demonstrated effort, on the street to say, let us create more jobs so that more people will begin to share this national cake. They are talking about increment.
The national cake you're talking about is not even enough for the protesting.
It's because,
it's more than enough.
See, my brother, it's more than enough, even as at now. You see, the salary they are saying we cannot pay. I knew a time will come when Nigeria can no longer pay the salary, because I said since I was born till today, it has always been protest for increment, and yet you are increasing this thing by the day. I've never seen commensurate improvement in the performance of even civil servants. Over these years, they are still the same people. They leave their file unattended to.
It's the duty of the government to regulate activities.
That is what I'm saying now. This is the right time in Nigeria. It's a very good opportunity, because any decision the government is taking now, people will see that this is the reality on ground. Have you had any person protesting in Oyo since 3 days ago, since that announcement was made? Because they know this is the reality. It's a question of you are now earning 600,000 naira after all the series of protests over the years. You from 550,000 now you got to 100 to 250 to 400 to 600. Now government cannot pay you. It's a question of saying, now, do you prefer at the end of the month not to get anything, or at least we should divide it by 2, you get 300. Which one do you prefer? And that is why you don't hear that there is protest so far now. If that is done across the board for political office holder, appointees, whatsoever you call them, then if it is done for the hierarchy civil servants, if it is done across the board, there will be enough money to pay these salaries, and there will be enough for capital, even as at today that you are talking about economic recession. Then the government should put its feet down to ensure that anything that is being done now, it is faced squarely, and it is done permanently.
Because of our time, Reverend Agbejume, what are your last words? The masses are complaining.
Yeah,
In a minute.
Government should forget about this borrowing plan and look inwards. Block all the loopholes. Look at how you will tax properties, discourage
extravagance of any sort.
Lies spending of politicians and top office holders in the civil service. And lastly, because we must not forget this area, if Nigeria must improve and get out of recession.
Okay, thank you so much.
Think of building industries and...
your last one, because of our time.
The last time I went to Voice of Nigeria, I spoke seriously about diversification. We'll be talking about improvement in agriculture. I've not seen new tractor. I've not seen anything new in agriculture. I did farming those days. I've still seen, even if you travel today, you still see this. I've not seen any improvement. I think government need to be serious for once and take the decision that will bail us out of this problem. Then the issue of corruption is something that should go around everywhere, and no one should pity any person. These people plunge us into the confusion we are in now. They should be tackled. They should go. People who are corrupt should go to prison, so that they will know they are the ones who have messed us up as a people.
All right, thank you so very much, viewers. This is how it has been on this episode of Christians in Politics. And with me in the studio, we had the Venerable Joseph Unoya, the Director of Civic and Political Affairs in the Church of Nigeria and the Chaplain to the National Assembly. We also had Reverend Ben Agbejume, who is a priest and a political analyst in the Diocese of Abuja Anglican Communion. So that is how it has been on this episode of the program. Join us next time for a more interesting package. Until then, I am yours sincerely, Chukwuemeka Lum Anyekwa, signing out.